Welcome back to the channel, everybody. We've got a new driver review video, and it's a bit of a beast for this one today, and it's the new Titleist TSi4. So they're ultra low spin option, very compact head. It looks fiery. We're going to take a little look, talk a little bit about the technology and maybe the sort of golf that's going to possibly put this in the bag. We've got TrackMan on the floor as always, so we're going to test it with some numbers from me and obviously my personal feedback of this particular club and the type of player it's really aimed at. Okay, so TSi4, and this is what Titleist is saying, and I would totally agree with them. This is going to be a very small market. It's a very niche market, this, because it's an ultra low spin driver. So what are they doing? It's a very classic compact pear shape head, very beautiful looking, I've got to say. It looks fantastic down by that golf ball. We've got the weighted screw now, which is pushed in the sole, which is pushed forward towards the club face, obviously lowering that CG, but pushing it towards the club face is going to create a lower spin. Now there's no option of moving that weight around. We've still got SureFit neck sleeve, so we can dial in that loft and face angle, as well as a little bit of lie as well, for that bit of adjustability. But I say, just popping that into that playing position, it's ultra compact. It's very pear-shaped, beautiful, rounded sort of shape, black gloss finish, as we see with all the TSi models. Great looking golf clubs in my opinion. And just popping this up against the TSi3 and the 2, and maybe the 1 as well, but mainly the TSi 2, 3 and the 4, it's just that little bit more compact in that appearance down the football. It sits beautifully square, and I'm really interested to see how this performs. Okay, opening shot, not a bad trajectory on that. 115, that's pretty quick for me straight out of the blocks there. So the shaft I'm using there is a Hazardous RDX Smoke in an X. Launch 12, 2.4 on that spin from that slightly heel strike, so quite controlled on that spin there. Typically on that heel strike, probably just see a little bit more of a higher spin number. Again, the sound of and the feel off that club face is very similar to that what we see in the TSi3, TSi2, which I'm a big fan of. That's a good solid hit. Yeah, it's a very forward flight. You can see that's just not going to want to spin up. Again, that was a little bit heel. It felt quite solid. That 165, yeah, 2.8 on the spin, so it's not mega low at the moment. Again, very sort of solid feel, 165. So, you know, I'm not getting that really low spin at the moment, but having said that, my strike has just been a little bit in this heel, slightly low there. You can see that slight low heel. It's always going to spin up, but spin up at 2,800, I would typically see from that strike probably a 3,002, probably a 3,500 spin number. So with this weight being positioned further forward, obviously creates a lower spin, but also a reduced dynamic loft at impact. So imagine with that heavy weight in that forward section, it obviously doesn't want to catch up massively in terms of that hosel of the golf club, so it won't actually add a loft. Imagine the weight being in that back section, that will want to sort of catch up, and that's when you can create that little bit more dynamic loft on those back weighted drivers. So moving that forward, lower dynamic loft, which is typically going to be lower flight, and obviously that lower spin. So Titleist saying the new TSi4 in comparison to TS4 is 6% less drag now with the shape of the head. So ultimately can move that club a little bit faster through that air into that impact to increase that club head speed. And to be honest, you know, the speeds I'm getting there are pretty good, to be honest. You know, around that 114 is pretty quick for me, and I'm not really going at these. Felt like a solid strike, and I mean, you just see that flight, it's just forward, it's not lifting, it's not staying in that air. Yeah, 2,100, you can just sort of see that just dropping a little bit out of that sky. So what I'm just going to do now, with that slightly lower launch, lower spin now, I'm just going to try and get my launch up. So I'm going to use the SureFit neck sleeve here. I'm going to add 1.5, which is the maximum I can add to that, which is an A4 setting. So I'm keeping the lie as standard, but I'm upping the loft by 1.5 degrees. Let's see what happens to that performance from there. Right, okay, so 1.5 degrees. This is now playing at 10.5. What does that change with the look of the club down the ball? It does sit a fraction towed in. When we add a little bit of loft, it does tend to just close that club face, and that's quite noticeable there. I mean, it's not massively closed, but it is just slightly more hooded. Definitely see a little bit more of the club face there. So just the appearance down by the golf ball, just changing a fraction. But it'd be interesting if I can keep that spin low, increase a little bit of launch. We should get a few more yards out of this. Let's go strike. Definitely higher ball flight. Looks to be a little bit longer through that carry. So again, 13 launch. Spin has just gone up a tiny bit there. Good carry there at 295. That's a good shot. Definitely higher. Big noticeable difference there. Change that loft. That's going to be longer as well. 14 carry. Spin at 2.7, 298. So for me, that little bit of extra loft there with this type of club with that weight forward, obviously if I start putting loft into 10.5 with a back weighted driver, it's just going to go up and spin a lot more. So I think the combination there is controlling that spin but having a little bit more loft. So you might, 9 degrees far. I mean, the offerings in the TSi4 is an 8 degree. I mean, somebody's playing 8 degrees got to have a serious up attack there and delivering a lot of dynamic loft, and to sort of get that one launching, be a bit of a scary one. But 8 degree, 9 degree, and also a 10 degree head option. But then obviously, as we've done here with the SureFit neck sleeve, you can change the lofting around. Okay, not a bad strike. Touch up the left. 165, 2, 3 on that spin, 198. So, as I say, I think this is quite a niche market. I think the only thing that worries me there, and I mean, I have done that a little bit in this test, is just move my strike a little bit around. Bear in mind, I've only hit probably a handful of shots there, but I can feel that twist. I can see the ball just starting to venture a little bit more iron. So obviously the MOI on this driver isn't going to be as great as what you're going to see TSi3 and even more so TSi2 and also 1. So that's the only issue there. If you're going to move your strike around a little bit, I think you're just going to get a little bit more punished with this. Again, with that weight being more forward, better results for me up in that loft, which sort of counteracts a little bit that weight going forward. So I think for me, as I say, it's a niche market. If you're a really high spinner, really good sort of central strike, you want to get that flight down, and maybe you've exhausted ideas around loft on other models and maybe shafts to help with that, then I think then the TSi4 is then an option to look at. But as I say, very small market, but post comments down below. Is TS4 possibly something you'd look at if you're a high spinning golfer, or if you had TS4 in your bag? I'd love to hear how you got on with that as well. So do post your comments down below. Okay, so appreciate you watching the video as always. If you enjoyed it and you haven't subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Very much appreciate it. I'll do a few more tests with TSi4 up against maybe TSi3 and 2 and maybe other options. So again, if you want to look at any of those videos or you've got any ideas for me to put out to you, obviously, again, just fire your comments in the section down below, and hopefully we'll catch up with you all very soon.